Welcome to Inside Haiku Apps.
Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good middle of the night whenever you're watching this. We are continuing to go systematically through the preferences. And let's see what we've got. Okay, we're up to printers, repositories. Okay, if you want to know what that is about, you can just go back to episode 4. Where we discussed how to add repositories to your system. Right? And this will all make perfect sense to you, so we don't need to talk about it again. Right, so that brings us to screen. This is actually something you're likely to use fairly often. Now, you'll see that I'm using a Visa driver here. That's the way that it was set up on this virtual environment. However, the Visa driver is what Haiku calls the fail-safe video. And I've just learned over the years, first thing I do when I set up a new system, whether it's virtual or on real silicon, is to change to the Visa driver. I know I'm going to get a lot of people disagreeing with that, but when you boot Haiku, if it refuses to boot, 9 times out of 10 the problem lies with the video driver. And if you change to fail-safe video, it'll boot and you'll be able to install. There's a little tip from me. So I just make that change permanent. The way you do that is you go to your home folder, config, settings, kernel, drivers. Okay, you see 3 little files there. These will be set up later, but the kernel, that one is the important one. Most of these are settings that you don't want to touch, right? But look at here, fail-safe video mode true. Now, when you get your Haiku system, it looks like that. You remove that little hashtag, and from then on, your system will always boot with the Visa VGA driver. I'm not going to save this. The thing is that this driver is a very good one. And since we don't have hardware video acceleration, in my experience, you lose very little. Sure, if your system works out of the box with an Intel driver, then sure, go for it. But remember, this is always available as your backup. And so just keep that in mind. And I just find that it does everything I want perfectly. Okay, the first thing you can do here, this used to be a separate preferences, but it's now incorporated here into screen. Your workspaces. Okay, keep your eye here on the bottom right. I've got 2 columns and 2 rows. Let's just increase that. See, it happens live. So if 4 workspaces, which is the default, is not enough for you, well, you can have as many workspaces as you like. Just about. Let's see how far this goes up to 8 by 4. Okay, 32 workspaces. I don't see you filling that up. Let me just put this back. And I always find 4 is more than enough for me, but you know, whatever floats your boat. Then over here, by default, this will start on all workspaces. So if I make a change here, then it is going to change all 4 of these. However, you can also say, just change this workspace. That's very useful for a developer to see what your app is going to look like on somebody with a very small screen. For instance, there are some KDE and GTK apps that just scroll off a very small screen because the whole window is too large and you can't get to the buttons at the bottom. Now, I've seen that happen. So if you want to see what is this going to look like on a 640 by 400 screen, you can do it just on this current workspace and leave the others in your normal resolution, right? And so current workspace, and what happened to this one? Okay, and you can change it, apply. Now let's go back to this one, undo. See, so without actually realizing it, I already had a smaller workspace on this one. So this is the actual. So let's just make all workspaces in this. You can change how many bits per pixel. So that's the number of colors that your system has. I think most people set it to the maximum, but again, if you have a very color sensitive application, like a paint program, then you can set that to 16 and see what your application now looks like and if it still works. Let me apply that. I'm going to keep that, and so I've now set all workspaces to this setting. Okay, so that is basically all there is. You are probably going to use this one quite a lot. It's, some of these settings are basically informational. Some you set them once and then forget about them, but this one I find you actually have to get to know a little because it does really help, especially if you're, a bit of a tinkerer. Okay, so that is the screen settings. Next, we will come to the one you've all been waiting for, the screensaver.